What is going on, everybody? So, this review has been a long time coming, and thanks to that recent update with the Legion Go, I had to postpone this review for about 2 weeks, just to really get a sense of how it is to use this handheld with everything that Lenovo has to offer. And I'm going to cover as much as possible during this review as best as I can. And I just have to start off by saying, this is my new favorite handheld. And it's not for the reasons that you think. Playing a game like Resident Evil 4 Remake, fighting the big cheese while waiting for the train with my Legion Go, with its massive screen, made almost every moment feel more immersive than the ROG Ally and the Steam Deck ever did. Now, the Legion Go makes the illusion that it's a huge handheld, mainly because of how big the screen is. But in actuality, the Legion Go isn't that big. For me, it's just the screen that makes it look huge. It's kind of like the Steam Deck size, but slightly taller. And I know it weighs more, but the general area of the system isn't all that big. It actually looks a little sleek. So I turned out to be a fan of the Legion Go's aesthetic overall. And surprisingly enough, holding the Legion Go for a long period of time isn't bad at all. The grips are very comfortable and even slightly taller than grips from, say, the Steam Deck by a decent amount. But is it more comfortable in something like a Steam Deck? I would say no, mainly because the Legion Go is a lot heavier than the Steam Deck, ROG Ally, and definitely the Nintendo Switch. But for me, what these controllers can actually do outweighs how they're slightly less comfortable than the Steam Deck's controls. That is the real attention getter here. There are more than 4 macro buttons, which is just so extra for something like a handheld to do. But regardless of how picky a person can get with macro buttons, the Legion Go has them all pretty much. So I don't exactly see these buttons as a deal breaker, but they do get in the way sometimes. But overall, it is more convenient to have a function mapped to one of these many macro buttons on the Legion Go's controls. And of course, we all know that the controllers have a very special ability. They can actually detach from the system itself, which is very similar to the Nintendo Switch, so it pretty much feels like you're using Nintendo Switch 2 at this point. Now, I have the Legion Go and the ROG Ally currently, and I honestly find myself wanting to play the brand new handheld of the house more than the old ROG Ally, but that could just be a honeymoon phase. Maybe the screen size will be everything I always wanted, then later I'll wish I had a smaller or bigger screen, but that's where the Legion Go comes into play in a crucial way, for me anyway. Sometimes I want to play something smaller and lighter like the ROG Ally, or something that has all the bells and whistles like the Legion Go. Funny thing is, if I weren't making videos about them, would I want the Legion Go? At this point, I think it's a resounding yes. I think having both the ROG Ally and Legion Go is essential for me anyway. I can dock one and play the other. It allows me to have more freedom on what to use as a handheld and a docked PC. For example, I could be watching a movie on one and playing a game on the other. And because the Legion Go has such a huge screen, usually I'm watching a movie on the ROG Ally and playing something on the Legion Go. And yes, while waiting for the train, I decided to play Resident Evil 4 Remake, and that moment for me was incredibly immersive. I legit felt like I was playing it in a living room, similar to the ROG Ally, but with that bigger screen. It's so much easier to get into the game a lot faster. And speaking of gaming, the performance of the Legion Go has improved after the latest Legion Go update last week. Now you can mess with the SPPT and FPPT as well as the overall TDP. So saving battery has become a lot easier, and the Legion Go has a 49 watt-hour battery, which is a considerable amount more than something like the original Steam Deck and ROG Ally. But of course, as we know, those handhelds have updated versions with bigger batteries, so the Legion Go needs every type of tool at its disposal in order to take full advantage of its bigger battery. But so far, using the Legion Go has reminded me how I felt the first time I played the Nintendo Switch. It's comfortable, it's groundbreaking, and it's very convenient. And there are multiple ways to play. For instance, you can play the Legion Go in tabletop mode, which allows you to detach the controllers, kick back that kickstand on the Legion Go, and just prop it on the table and play it like a miniature laptop. And this convenience of variety has made me think about the Legion Go in a different light. At first, I saw it as a random clunky handheld, but after knowing the convenience of playing in a tabletop mode and docked, the Legion Go is a lot more versatile than I originally thought. So let's talk about the power of this handheld. It is a powerful handheld, but it actually has faster RAM than the original ROG Ally, and it's able to reach 30 watts on battery power alone. Now, does the 30 watt power option help the Legion Go to any extent? Not really. I think performance mode is a lot more reliable than a full-on 30-watt mode for some reason. So the 30-watt mode for the Legion Go definitely needs some work. But the hibernation and sleep function, because of the upgraded RAM, is noticeably better than the original ROG Ally's hibernation. There were so many bugs with the ROG Ally's hibernation after a while, and it was getting progressively more difficult to recommend hibernation mode for the Ally. But for the Legion Go, I can 100% recommend it, and so far there haven't been any noticeable glitches after waking the Legion Go from hibernation mode. And going back into the screen, the 1600p 8.8-inch screen is the Legion Go's home run here, and the battery helps a good amount as well, because that screen needs more power to run it than something like a Steam Deck and ROG Ally, and especially Nintendo Switch. Also, another thing to point out, people always say that systems like the Steam Deck and ROG Ally screens were too small to see text from most PC games at higher resolutions. But with the Legion Go, it's 8 inches, almost 9, and it's 1600p. So, suffice to say, there are no issues viewing smaller text in-game on the Legion Go. I have a better time playing The Witcher 3 on the Legion Go than I do the ROG Ally because of the bigger screen. But also, the higher resolution is very important here. Now, if the screen was just an 8.8-inch with 800p or 1200p, then it wouldn't look as good as it could. But with 1600p, this screen looks magnificent. It looks like 4K on the go. And yes, I like the screen. We know that. And now going back into the controllers, into, for me, the most important feature that changes everything, especially while docking the system. And that is the trackpad. The trackpad makes it a lot easier to navigate through Windows 11. In fact, so far from what I played, because of the trackpad on the Legion Go, I would say that the Legion Go is one of the best handhelds to use for Windows, if not the best, simply because of that trackpad. And yes, that means that the Legion Go's detachable controllers are jam-packed with buttons and all kinds of functions, including something called FPS Mode. Now, for me, this is the elephant in the room because I don't really use FPS Mode. I used it a couple times with Doom Eternal and Halo, but honestly, I prefer to use analog sticks, mainly because I don't really know keyboard and mouse controls. So whenever I switch to FPS Mode, I have to refamiliarize myself with the controls and buttons and know exactly what's what. So there's always like 20 minutes of relearning everything with any specific game I try FPS Mode on, because I don't really play keyboard and mouse that much, so I wouldn't know by heart what controller goes where. But even if I did, all of the macro buttons and face buttons are all, for the most part, mapped to different or seemingly random keys, except for WASD. But I will say that FPS Mode does work very well, and if you want more of a PC experience while docking the system, that's something you can easily get into, all thanks to how seamless the Legion Go is with FPS Mode. All you have to do is flick the switch on the bottom of the right detachable controller, and then you have enabled FPS Mode. There are just so many features with this hardware alone. I almost forgot to mention the 2 USB-C ports. Even though one is set in the bottom, having 2 USB-Cs is so much better and such a relief. It is odd that one is set in the bottom because they want you to use it for the case for some reason. And honestly, it would have been better if they just added 2 USB-Cs on the top, so when I play tabletop mode, I can connect an external SSD as well as a charger, or a display as well as a charger. But because it's set to the bottom, I have to kind of lay it flat and awkwardly pop out the kickstand so it can have some ventilation space. But yes, going into the kickstand, I've mentioned twice but haven't really addressed. The kickstand is phenomenal. It has a wide range of angles. I think it could go 120 degrees, if I'm not mistaken. It's sturdy, and I think it's made of aluminum, so it's very sturdy and very reliable. The only thing I wished is some kind of rubber coating at the bottom lip of it, so if I decide to use it, say, on my lap with a controller or something like that, it won't stab at my legs, because since the stand is aluminum, it's also sharp, so it actually stabs my legs a little bit. I was worried that it would tear my pants because it is that sharp, but it's very sturdy, so extra points for that. And the last thing I wanted to talk about is Legion Space. Now, Legion Space sort of reminds me of Armory Crate. It's always there, it reminds you that it's there all the time, but you close it anyway because it's not 100% reliable. And yes, Legion Space isn't reliable, but right now Armory Crate is even less reliable. So I think it is better than Armory Crate technically, but for most of the time, I didn't have any kind of issue with Armory Crate. But now all of a sudden, after I get the Legion Go, it's like my ROG Ally's jealous or something. So now Armory Crate's not working at all for me. If not, it breaks a lot of games. But yes, Legion Space has a lot of options now, and it has progressed and upgraded significantly from, let's say, the first day that the Legion Go came out, but it has a lot of catching up to do. So yeah, the Legion Go made me feel exactly how I did when I played the Nintendo Switch for the first time. But I would say the honeymoon phase kind of ran out faster than it did with the Nintendo Switch, and Legion Space kind of holds the system back a little bit. But regardless of those points, the Lenovo Legion Go is the best Windows handheld I've used to date. And it's my new favorite handheld. I actually use this thing a lot more than the ROG Ally, mainly because of its bigger screen, better implemented software, detachable controllers, ease of use, 2 USB-Cs. It's definitely a big upgrade from the ROG Ally, but in terms of performance, it has a little bit of catching up to do as well. So for my final score for the Lenovo Legion Go, I'm going to give it an 8.5 out of 10. It's slightly better than the ROG Ally for me. I kind of like it more, but there are features I wish worked better, such as Legion Space, and not to mention the USB-C cables sometimes don't want to charge from specific power banks. So I removed half a point for that as well. But besides that, I absolutely love the Legion Go. I think I completely misjudged this thing from the start. And yes, it is big and heavy, but I can fit it into a lot smaller places because I could detach the controllers and just put them in a bag or something similar. But yeah, what do you guys think about the Lenovo Legion Go? Do you have one? Are you thinking about getting one instead of the ROG Ally? Or do you already have an ROG Ally and are thinking about getting a Go? But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. Hope you have a good one. Later.